This one will give you a pocket bulge. This very, very chunky boy is the REATE T1000 in DLC and green zircotai. This is a Crane's Cutlery exclusive and is one of only 13 made in this configuration. This one has a 3.6-inch M390 blade made with very, very thick blade stock. A hollow grind on this portion of the blade, flat grind out here, and a swedge, and a surprisingly thin edge, actually, considering how thick the blade stock is, which I really appreciate. I hate knives that have very thick edges. Oh, there's that damn cricket again. I hope you guys don't hear him. Yeah, so like I was saying, actually relatively thin behind the edge, which I appreciate, especially on a knife that is as chunky as this. And you can see there's some jimping up here. Kind of works. Yeah, it works. Jimping back here as well works a little better. And I don't really know if I want to call that a finger choil, because I do have kind of like these long, crooked, skinny fingers. And so my index finger kind of fits in there okay, but someone with meatier fingers, that might not work for them. Again, I don't really know how much that matters on a knife like this, because I don't really think anyone is going to probably be buying this really as a practical user. But looking around it some more, we have titanium handles, also with the DLC, the green zircotai accents. So this one is I guess you'd call that a pivot collar, but that also wraps around this button for the secondary lock, and this screw here, which actually just appears to be there as an embellishment. It doesn't seem to be doing anything. Green zircotai back spacer, and this piece here, which I'll get to in a second, and green zircotai pocket clip. And I really have to say, I really love the green zircotai. I think it looks cooler than the way that most manufacturers anodize their titaniums or their zircotai, which is typically in that bronze or blue or purple color. The green is much more difficult to achieve because it is a higher voltage anodization. It requires a little bit more prep work. And it also looks like this hardware is DLC coated as well. Although, I can't say with certainty that it's a DLC coating. It could just be some other type of black coating. This blade is an M390. I think that the earlier versions of this knife came in 3V. Pretty sure that there is for sure there's a hardened steel insert on the lock bar that's pretty much standard nowadays. Runs on bearings, and knowing REATE, they are probably caged multi-row ceramic bearings, although I'm not going to take this apart to find out. Okay, so what's unique about this knife? I mean, there are plenty of kind of overbuilt, overly chunky knives on the market. So the fact that this is overbuilt and overly chunky is not unique, but it does have a secondary lock. I'm not sure if there's anything else out there that's got the same exact feature at least, but you'll see here there's these two buttons on either side of the handle. If you press them in, you will see that they go in there, and then you cannot open the blade. So that is a safety feature to prevent you from accidentally deploying the blade. Although considering how heavy the detent is on this knife, I think it's very unlikely that you would accidentally deploy it. And then this piece I pointed out earlier can actually be pushed forward to disengage that secondary lock. That same lock can also be engaged while the blade is open, as a redundant safety feature so that you cannot accidentally disengage the blade in case the primary lock fails. So pretty cool. And honestly, a feature that I think would actually be more welcome on kind of a more standard pocket knife, because again, I really don't think that most people buying this particular blade are going to be using it as a typical everyday tool. It's just too heavy and chunky, difficult to carry, and again, the blade's really too thick to make it really useful for cutting. So the feature is really more there just as a cool add-on rather than something that I think that you really need for something like this, but it adds to the cool factor. So let me disengage that. Like I said before, so this is a Crane's Cutlery exclusive, numbered only 10 of 13. I showed the serial number earlier. Crane's Cutlery, I've gotten a few other things from it before. They seem to be a lesser known site, probably not as well known as a site like Blade HQ or Knife Center, but I think they're worth checking out. They appear to exclusively distribute for REATE, as well as a couple of custom makers, including Alvin Lee, who is the designer of this knife. Alvin Lee has done a couple of designs that REATE has produced. This one, obviously, but the REATE Tiger is another one that I believe Alvin Lee designed. This one is also a Crane's Cutlery exclusive. This one also in green zircotai. I don't know if you can tell, but I love me some green zircotai. The zircotai on this one actually looks a lot cooler than it does on the T1000. There's a lot of character in here. You can see there's some hints of purple. And it almost looks like it's crystallized, like it's like crystallized titanium, like I showed on the Kaiser drop bear that I have. I don't know if that's just an effect from the anodization or if it is actually that crystallized TI material, but nonetheless, it looks really cool. So this one, again, came from Crane's Cutlery. This was also an exclusive there. This was also part of a very limited run. I don't recall how many of this one were made. Does this one also have a... Yeah, it does. They only made 20 in this configuration. Last time I checked the site, they didn't have any more of these, but they still had a few versions which were in like either like a pink or a purple color. Same material, just anodized in a different color. Whereas I think as of today, which it's the end of September right now, they still have a few of these in stock, as well as in other colors or you know, anodizations of zircotai. So I think they have one that's in kind of like the standard blue purple, which you see more commonly, and one which is in an unanodized configuration where it just looks like it's just a polished titanium with the black veins of zircotai running through. The other exclusive I've gotten from them, is this one. This is the REATE Crossroads, which was Kirby Lambert design. Let me move these out of the way. You see this one has like that kind of more common or standard type of anodization on the zircotai. I think they call this wood micarta handle scales, which it's the same as what you can get in one of the standard variations of this knife. And this one's also in Damasteel. Yeah, pretty cool. This one also has a zirconium pivot collar, which doesn't really stand out too much because of the inlay that it's right next to there. Zirconium backspacer. You can see this one I did sharpen. I put the polished edge that I like to put on it. Mostly because out of the box, and this is something that REATE tends to do a lot, as much as I like REATE, and they do some excellent manufacturing, they are sometimes kind of sloppy with their edges, especially back here towards the plunge, where they sometimes have like the little wonky kind of nub sticking out where they haven't kind of properly ground it down all the way, and I had to correct it on this one, which is why you kind of see a little section here where it's not quite as polished. But yeah, you know, me being the sharpener that I am, I don't typically have too much difficulty correcting that, and I don't really mind doing it too much. But I really do kind of wish that they would, you know, clean it up a little bit. You know, I think I'd made a comment in another video that WE knives always gets their edges right. You know, they never have issues with inconsistent bevels. They never have issues with not clearing the plunge. They're always nice and sharp out of the box. I don't quite get that from REATE, although REATE does do other things better than WE, such as inlays. REATE is like the king of inlays. They do the best inlay work. It's always like, you know, it's two different pieces of material, but you can't feel the difference. You know, you run your finger across it, you cannot feel a seam. They just do it perfectly every time. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. You know, this video was supposed to be about the T1000. I don't have a lot more to say about this. You know, this is not really a review. I haven't really carried this knife or used it. All I can really do is present it. It's obviously more of a collector's piece than a user. I do encourage you, if you like this kind of stuff, to go out and get one of these, because most likely a couple months down the road, these won't be available anymore, and you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't get one. Although I completely understand if you don't have the funds, because I've got a zillion things on my wish list, and I do not have the ability to get them all. So I think that's it for this one. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.